Well, it's Barry Crocken out there, and the supervisors have decided to take a bit of a break. Didn't you, baby boy? Hey, it's not easy being young and giant. Anyway, valves are all cut on the left head, so 5 through 8. Just did them again, just because we're here. And really good. Really happy with it. So now I want to make it clean. So what I've got, a new brush, clean container of terps, and I don't want to touch this on it because it'll just pick up contaminants, but just wet the area down as he touches it, idiot. I thought it would drip off better than that. That's working, it's all right. So just to transfer some terps in, and again, a clean brush, another one I don't really care about, just to wash the terps in, and a cleanish rag to clean the seat out and the chamber out, exhaust port in this one, inlet one in this one obviously. Inlets are always bigger because it's hard to suck than it is to blow air, that is. And then nice clean rag here, and we'll just dip that. Actually, if you ever have a look at a hydraulic pump, excuse me, you'll always see the suction line is bigger than the exit line. And now you know why. So I just want these really, really clean. Excuse me as I die a slow death. And I'll put some terps down into the valve guides and blow them out with the air pistol. And just shove the torch down, just make sure it's nice and clean. Same sort of process to the valves, one by one, obviously. And then I'm going to install the valves into this head, not forgetting to put the valve stem seals on. Yeah, so happy with that. It's nice and clean. Good valve seat. So time to assemble this head. Just to make sure these molar retainers are just spot on. They look clean anyway, but as you can see, the fluid's got a little bit of muck in it. So I just want to make sure that's really, really clean before we put them on. There's the brand new valves in place. Valve stem seals fitted. I put a bit of clean oil, obviously clean and put dirty oil in, but oil on the inside of it, just to help it get over, because you don't want to burr your seal. And that's why I put oil inside it, because you've got a sharp edge in these valves, even though they're chamfered slightly. Actually, it looks like only the inlets are chamfered, the exhausts are flat. So you do not want to damage your seals as you put them over. So do that gently, make sure they're well lubed. Well, that's my advice anyway. I am not a motor mechanic. I fix airplanes for a living. So, similar but different. So, I was going to make sure these are absolutely spotless before I put them onto the spring as such. Clean the collets up, even clean the bolt that holds the valve spring compressor. Bought that not that long ago, works well, and it's got a little bit of softwood, very, very softwood, this stuff. It's just I think it's even manufactured with this stuff. It's not real. Well, it is, you know what I mean. It's just soft. And you can see where the valves have been bedding in before, so that little piece, throw it on the ground, fits into the chamber area. And I'll put a rag in that as well, so a clean rag on top of that, then sitting under there, and then we can go along and compress our valves and fit our collets. So that's what we're going to try and do. before knock off today, but I don't think I'm going to get there. I'm running out of time as usual. Anyway, well, we had a bit of an epic fail last night, so tools down. This is all right when I took the other springs off, but frankly I just don't have the strength in me anymore to do it with the new springs, putting them in. Getting them out's one thing, you just collapse magnet, out they come. But when you've got to put them into place, without someone giving you a hand or the head bolted to the engine, which is not a really ideal situation. Well, it is, but things apart, isn't it? So I went and bought one of these. So Sydney Tools was open this morning. Bit of a drive for me because we're out in the bush, but worthwhile. 29 bucks. What's the brand? I don't know, Endeavour I think it was. But anyway, yeah, Endeavour. So I thought that'll do. So I'll set one up and see how it goes. Hopefully this will get us out of trouble. Righto, so I've used one of these before many moons ago. I borrowed off a mate. They get the job done. They're a bit laborious compared to using the rocker style, but look, we got the job done, so that's the main thing. I mean, these springs are quite stiff. They're high performance springs, so that's it. So that's working just fine. I just put a bit of lube in it, seemed to help it a bit. And these two are just misbehaving like you wouldn't believe, the two boys. Anyway, don't scratch my bike, Humphrey. Come on, get on your mat. Seriously, you two. Supposed to be supervising, but no, not at all. Misbehaving, as usual. Well, this is all going pretty well. Just a couple of little things. I don't know if tips of people, I don't know if it's of use at all, but when you're setting this thing up, I'm doing it with the valve and the retainer on the head, because you can just push it down that little bit and get the lower legs, you can see them there, to lock in as far down as you can. If you have a bit of trouble doing that, you can always, two hands, wind the spring backwards, or sorry, yeah, backwards, it doesn't matter, but wind it so that if you haven't got it at a maximum length possible, so you're compressing as much as possible is what I'm trying to say here. So you can screw it in so it becomes tight inside the assembly. So use the spring as a thread, yeah? And then two hands, wind the thing down. The other thing is absolute cleanliness. So I'm air pistoling off after soaking in terps overnight. These were pretty clean anyway. But these are engine bits, and now we're to the, you know, putting it together bit. Everything, cleanliness is godliness, I suppose. So everything has to be Mickey Mouse clean as. So that's what we're doing. I don't know if that's any use to anyone, but we'll see. Righto, so there we are, spring compressed, and in fact, you'd call that the spring is bound. So you don't want that, your camshaft causing that. So that's what we're talking about before. You've got to make sure your springs are set up so that there's enough length in them, or in between the springs, that you don't get that situation while the engine's operating. That would be bad. It's not going to happen in this case. The other thing is, like I said before, I've just got that bit of softwood sitting under there, and I've got to move that actually over to the next bore, so we'll do that. It just sits in nicely. It's a nice little bit of softwood. Crush your fingers, Blue. All right, so then that's holding the valve up where I want it. Compressed spring with retainer assembly. On we go, and there you can see we're going to get the collets on real easily. And trying to do this one hand, good luck. Anyway, as you can see, there it is. Very good. It's one. Two, and hopefully we can, I'll try and do it again, one hand, pretty dumb. Actually, I've gone too far. That'll be a first. Try and do it one hand, good luck. I'll get it. The old magnet always comes in handy. I'll do that again. I've really got to sort out the one-hand filming thing, because that would look pretty ordinary, I would think. Anyway, you're getting the drift. I cannot do it with one hand, I'm sorry. But I was just trying to say that once, there we go, no, knock the other one off, good one. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to hold it up in position so the collet is, so the retainer is holding the collets in, and then two hands unwind the thing. Also, another tip I do, I'll put valves back in, get a soft rubber mallet, and I'll show that later, and just gently tap the top of each valve, making sure that there's nothing underneath it so the valve can move, and make sure your collets don't bounce out from the retainer, because that can happen. They can look like they're in but not, so you don't want that to happen when you start the engine up. Cool. Right, so we're at assembly stage. So points to note, a lot of people covered this before. I've got a two-piece oil seal, I had one of these before, they work really good. Just make sure that the lip or the edge is towards the bearing or the crankshaft, so it holds the oil in, not the chamfer the other way around. So, and the other thing is, yes, that they don't line up. So you make sure that one's up here and one's down there, whatever, but do not put the join at the join, because you'll end up with a leak. So edge forward towards the crank. So obviously when you put it in, this one it's upside down, but that's okay. So you just do that. And the other thing I noticed too, this one here, I don't remember this being an issue last time, but you can see it's going to need a bit of a squish down when it gets installed. So I've just set it so it's about even amount of squeeze either side, but it's quite significant. But we'll have to keep a good look on that, but I guess that's going to help squeeze that lip hard onto the crankshaft. So again, this is all being covered by people like Peter Anderson, who really knows what he's doing. He's building an XC GXL, he's done it actually. Obviously the slots marry to the holes on the block side. Don't do it the other way around, you'll seize your engine. Again, I'm no motor mechanic, but it just sort of goes to make sense. It's in the book as well. Crankshaft, so I was going to take that out now. Engine oil onto the bearing caps. I did the same as Pete. He's the one that put that tip on the net. I've not seen that before, but I've cleaned out the back shell, the caps where the back shell or the shells sit into. So I don't know. I've not seen that before, but it sort of made sense when he said it, so I'll go with that as well. Probably should read the book and have a bit of a look. I do have the book for the original 351. Anyway, I need my other hand back. I'll open this crank up. I'll give it a quick wipe down with clean rag and terps. That's what I use. And we'll fit her in and torque it down. I just thought I'd make a note. Look, this thing is going to be months before I start it, so I've decided to, rather than just put oil on the bearings, I'm using the old Crocam's assembly lube, effectively is what it is. I've ordered another Crocam shaft, that'll be the third one I've had in my life, and I know I'll get another tube of it, but yeah, I thought, not going to run it for a while, so let's do that rather than just rely on oil. Isn't that right, team? Hey? Is it ball time, is it? It's not really. I think you're conning me. I've pulled the books out, and I was trying to remember why when I pulled this bearing cap out I had seal on it. Oh, it's because I used this book last time I did this moons and moons ago. It's in the proper XC maintenance manual as well, to put some sealant on the rear bearing cap. But it says, note, where do I see it? Do not apply sealant to the area forward of the slinger groove. So forward is towards the bearing, so I'll take that as where the bolt, beg your pardon, where the bolt goes through. Looking at what they've done here, and old mate when he's putting his on, I don't know if you can see it from the photo, but you can see pretty similar sort of thing. He's just gone the outer cap area, so not forward of the slinger groove. There is a little bit there actually. I'll just wipe that off. So I'm just using good old Permatex Ultra Blue. I've got Ultra Copper here, but I don't want to open that tube up yet. I'll use it for other stuff later. Alright, I must admit, I've done something I've never done before. Put the bearings into the 351, it's only the third time I've done it. It's amazing when you read the book. So aligning the thrust bearing. Essentially you pry the crankshaft forward after installing the other bearing caps. Then once you're holding pressure forward, you put tension on the number 3 cap, which is a thrust cap, backwards. Now, it is only installed finger tight at this stage. Now, this old magazine, and I've got no reason to doubt it, it's a very old book, Build the 351. They went with the method of actually putting all the bolts in, just nipped up with a speed brace, and aligning it by little hitting the crankshaft with a hammer. Now they put a bolt over it to protect it. So I decided, I'm going to go with the XC book rather than hit my crankshaft with a hammer or a mallet. So I've done it this way. I've never done it before. I know it worked last time, so I don't know. Seems, honestly, to me it seems a bit bizarre, but there you go. People know better than me. Again, I'm not a engine builder for, I'm not an engine builder for airplanes either. Just do cylinder changes here and there when they break, because they do. But at the end of the day, that just spins beautifully. There's no binding, as you can see, and it's got all that moly grease, or assembly paste, whatever you want to call it. Essentially what it is, it's just a moly grease, I think. And that is beautiful. It's nice and firm, but very consistent. So, and the other thing the book said, make sure that when this bearing is installed, that it should be flush or slightly forward of the back face of the block. Well, it is. Good. I don't know how you could not do that, honestly, but anyway, that's how she is. And so we've squeezed out the goop, and of course it was only in the area outboard and sort of rear of where the slinger is. Now, the other thing to do, because we've fitted a two-piece rubber seal rather than the old wick type, you need to fill out that little hole there. So there used to be a locating lug in there that held the wick seal in position, and I'll fill that up with Ultra Blue as well in there. The other thing I've just reminded myself I've got to do is change that bearing. It's knackered. So it's the thrust bearing. It's got, you can feel it bearing, and I'll show you a tip on how to get them out. It's pretty simple. I think that's about it for the moment. The dogs are looking at me wantingly, except the little boy, he's tired. It's very hard growing when you're growing as fast as he is. Yes, he's not 9 months yet, and he's going to be a monster. So I was going to put some slaz in there now, silicon, and put a blanket over it and go and throw the ball. Well, it's a privilege to have the brother here down from the far deep north, and here we are just putting the rings on the piston. And the brother's got a job here. He's the holder. He holds the beer and he holds the piston, which is great. It's helped me get the rings on the piston. And as usual, the Labradors are supervising, not very closely, mind you. We have checked ring gaps a couple of times, a couple of pistons, and everything's bang on 18th hour where it should. So I'm not going to go and check the whole lot, and I did check the thrust bearing, it was right on. So it's just putting these together now. We might slip them in a minute. Okay, so I just put a piston together. In my feeble mind, you've got 4 points where you can put a ring gap. So I've just gone 1, 2 for the second compression, 3, and then 4 for the top O-ring. So in other words, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 points which are good to put a ring gap in, away from the gudgeon pin, and I just tend to do them opposite to each other. Works for me. I think, I think the Americans call it clocking. That's how I do it. Got a book here, doesn't even talk about it. And the piston ring installation from who supplied the pistons, I can't remember now. Hastings, that's right. Didn't talk about it much either, but anyway, it's always a good thing. Make sure your gaps, so just for me, your compression rings opposite each other. That's probably the most critical thing, but oil's just the same. Just make them opposite each other, away from the gudgeon pin. You got 4 points, just use all 4. Order's up to you. Now, really, you 3? Seriously? Bit of rain outside, and this is how we play. Just be grateful for the rain. All right. Cleaned out number 1. Peter Anderson, great tip. There's some good stuff on his website if you haven't seen his stuff. That was one from him. Just put some rubber grommets over the end of the conrod studs there, so you don't scratch your crankshaft. Good idea. Not my idea, it's his. So when you trust a little oil tin, we'll put some oil down with the bore, and I've cleaned the living bejeebers out of this again, just to make sure that it's spotless. So I wiped it out with terps and a clean rag, and then a air gun as well. So nice little bore. We do this in aeroplane engines, to be honest with you. This process is not a lot different. This is probably a bit more careful. I didn't say that out loud. I got my piston ring installer kit. Again, I don't know if you've ever seen these style. I mean, I've got the old, crank up one. I don't remember that being real good, this old thing, so I decided, these are the same we use on, 500 cubic inch, 6-cylinder buddy aircraft engines. So this is a style I'm used to using. I'll give it a go and see if it works. Obviously I can't film and do, but I'll see how it goes and report later. Okay, so that's the first one in. Points to note, notch forward. Also, I did check that the number on the conrod was on the right side of the conrod, which means then, I'll flip the engine over in a sec, that the flange is going to be in the right position. And you're going, what are you talking about, you idiot? So, again, this has been covered by Peter Anderson, so I'm repeating someone else's work here. But on each journal, you have a flange. I'll call it a flange, a round side. And it's number 5. The chamfer, let's call that chamfer, number 1 will be forward and number 5 will be rear, to marry to the chamfer looking onto the crankshaft. So looking down, this is number 2 and 6. If you look down, there's a chamfer. You don't want the sharp edge lining up with that. So you can see that the number isn't on this side of this particular conrod, it's on the outside. That's what the old 351 manual talks about. And therefore, the chamfer, the corresponding chamfer on the conrod is on the forward side. Number 5, when I put it in, it should be on the rear side with the piston notch being forward. I hope that's clear. Probably sounds like dribble, but anyway. Just looking at number 5, so it's forward, and the chamfer to marry to the rear one now on the crankshaft is facing rear, where number 1 is forward. They're 2 and 6 the same, so on and so on, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. The other thing, I put this lube on the shell of the bearing. I'll do it to that one as well. Also, nice coat of lube onto the piston. This is all suck egg stuff, really. If you've seen this show, you've probably seen a million shows. Into the gudgeon pin, into the gudgeon pin journals. Give it a nice good lube, start-up lube, so, you know, you give the thing a chance. So, oil can and oil, and obviously the bore, and on the face of these as well. Face to your crankshaft as well. So I coated that in oil before I started. So now I'm going to clean out this bore again. Check these three out, fair dinkum. Anyway, and so on and so forth. Though I won't film any more now. I don't think there's any more points that need covering for putting the slugs in. Just ring gaps, lube, position of your piston, so your notch is forward. You know, these are a bit foolproof. They've got forward on them as well, notch and forward. And that each time you put a conrod in, that the chamfer is marrying to the corresponding chamfer on the crankshaft, so you don't cut into your crankshaft. If I've confused you, just look up Peter Anderson, I can't remember his number it was, where he assembles the turning assembly of his 351. That'll do me for a bit. Okay, 7 of the pistons in. Why not the 8th? Because I had a faux pas, that's why. This bearing cap here fell out of the conrod engine other way around, and it fell out and I didn't see it or hear it, and it fell onto, was number 7 actually. It fell onto the crankshaft, and then I put the bottom cap in from underneath, not rotating the motor, and I didn't see it. And even though I was only using light tension with a little quarter drive, I should have gone, that's not just a bearing and a bolt, we've got a problem here. And yes, we do. So it ended up, the bearings were overlapped, and it's, as you can see, it's damaged the bearing, so cannot use that. Even though the damage is on the back side, there's still a hot or flat spot on the front side. That's not going into a new engine. Fortunately, the boys in Wagga had a spare set of 10th hour oversize ACL, so we'll get new ones in. The mail system let us down, just didn't get it here today, so that's that. And sticking with that theme, putting the Welsh plugs in, I noted that my new kit is missing two. I was trying to do some maths because it didn't add up as to where all the Welsh plugs go. The big bronze ones, well, they're easy, you can see them, but it's all these little holes. So there's actually 6. There was 4 that came in the kit. Luckily, again, the boys out there, when they've taken the 6 out, they've given me 5 back, so obviously one's damaged. So there's one in here, there's one in here, there's one here, there's one there, and you have 2 there. And I've just rung them up, and luckily they have a Clevo block sitting there with all of them still fitted, and they're able to identify and say, yes, that one goes in, that one sits proud, that one will sit proud, they sit proud, but the 2 in here, next to the camshaft, and deep into the block there, are recessed. So there's nothing in the bloody book. Nothing. And I was looking at photos on the net, and this old instruction I got here, they're rebuilt as 351 in here. And even from these photos, I really couldn't make it out. So I did find the net, this one, that one there. So putting Welsh plugs in, something else I've never done, never had to take them out before. Apparently the recommendation stuff to use, or recommended stuff is use, is aviation gasket sealant. I'm an aircraft engineer, I don't recall ever using it in aviation, but there you go. So I've got some around there. It's bloody messy stuff. I've just washed the crap out of my hands because I got it on my hands. Recommends you don't do that. In fact, it says it on the bottle. So now I'm going to knock them in. It's a pretty simple affair. From the book, you knock it in, so, well, that's a good example there. So that the lip of the Welsh plug is about flush with the chamfer in the block. You've got nice neat chamfers here, and all the holes in my block are nice and clean. you know, there's no burrs on them. I didn't need a wet and dry. I'm quite happy just to put these back in. It's in really good nick already. So that's what we're doing. Going to have a delay on that. It's amazing how cheap you can get stuff these days. So I went and bought this today. Yeah, it really wasn't a lot of money. Look, I did get a discount, so I won't say what it was, but from Gas World. But I think even retail, it's about $80 for this, including the gauge. So for a magnetic base and a gauge, $80, can't beat it. So I've had a bit of a play it already and set the crankshaft to exactly top dead center using the dial. So I'm finding the high point of the piston using the dial, because you don't need a cam wheel. You can just do it all via the gauge, and I'll have a bit of play with that. I think that's about it. Yeah, I'm going to whack them in now.